Welcome to the Probate Podcast, where we talk about all the things you didn't know you need to know about probate. My name is Sherry Lund, and I'm so glad that you're here. I want you to understand the process and to know what to expect because it's going to make things easier and it's going to save you money. And I'm here to show you how. Hi there. Welcome to the Probate Podcast. My name is Sherry Lund, and I'm so glad you're here. My guest is Melanie Hands. She's a registered nurse, and she's been on a caregiver journey. So today we're going to talk about how that has played out in her life. And if you're currently a caregiver, if you're in the throes of it and you're wondering, is there anybody else? Am I the only one? I want you to know that you're not. And I want you to know we are here for you. We know others who are here for you. And that's why this podcast is really here for obviously people that are in probate, but it's beyond that now. We also talk about seniors in transition. We talk about senior living. We talk about Medicare, all sorts of things. So I'm glad that you're here. You're going to want to have a pen and paper because we're going to talk about some things that are important, especially if you are a caregiver. You're going to want to take some notes about some things that Melanie has to say. And this podcast is sponsored by Willowwood Solutions in the Houston, Texas area. Willowwood Solutions is here to help families in transition and through the probate process. We're going to have a two-part series, actually, because of Melanie's experience as a caregiver and as a registered nurse and helping people through probate. So Melanie is qualified as a professional, and you need to know that. We're also going to talk about how she's prepared to help families through the caregiving process because of her experiences there. She's originally from Detroit. She's a registered nurse and a realtor, a real estate investor, a senior real estate specialist, and a certified probate specialist. That's where she and I met. She was a registered nurse for over 30 years, and she worked in the cardiac and OR departments as a nurse, and she was a clinical nurse consultant. Melanie went into pharmaceutical sales after that, and these roles prepared her to handle tough situations. She moved to Florida in 2017 to care for her aging parents. She has experience and understands the stresses of being a caregiver and someone who's lost a loved one. As a daughter who recently lost both of her parents and a brother, she knows the pain and confusion and the chaos that often ensues after such a profound loss. She's the founder of the Probate Nurse, and that's an all-inclusive probate, estate, and senior transition concierge service. That's a mouthful. Her company assists families that are navigating the complex senior care community in Florida. She created this business to provide a continuum of care to families who need empathy, knowledge, and guidance as they take their first steps into closing an estate. Melanie says, as an RN, certified probate expert, and senior real estate specialist, my passion remains the same in life and in death, providing a continuum of care for assistance for families in need when they're most vulnerable, needing guidance and transition after loss. As I mentioned, she created the Probate Nurse. That's part of a national network that provides the necessary referral partners to assist with closing an estate. Team members possess a passion for assisting families in need. There are over 1,200 of us, and I am one of these, who can assist our clients. So if we have someone, she's in Florida, I'm in Texas, but if we're aware of a need of someone in Arizona or California, we are in a network with people that can help people there as well. Melanie, I am so glad that you're here. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You've already heard me say that prior to this conversation, but yeah, you have been through a lot and you have the heart to help people. Like your experiences and your pain are going to be turned into good because of what you are doing with that to help others in that similar situation. There's nothing like a person who has been climbing and going through a tough time who turns around and lends a hand to those behind them. And I am inspired by that. I'm motivated by that. It really touches me. And I know that the people that you work with and will be working with will benefit because of what you have been through and what you have to offer them. I appreciate what you do. Before we get into all of that, let's talk about who you are as a person. If you and I were hanging out, let's pick a beach in Florida. Those are so much nicer than the beaches in Texas. Yeah, we were just strolling along and I said, Melanie, who are you as a person? What would you say?
First of all, thank you so very much for allowing me to be here today. It's an honor, and it's really great to sit and speak with someone who does the same type of work. So thank you, Sherry. What a great opportunity, and I really appreciate it. Coming from Tampa. So I'm in the Tampa area and I love it here. I decided to remain here after I lost my family members because I built a community here and I love it. So getting to know me is pretty simple. I'm very open minded, very creative. Love to go down to the beaches, take a walk. We have our favorite watering holes we love to attend, but I'm really into live music, love to see bands and dance and have a great time. But I also love to cook and I'm really about making
Oh,
incredible food that's very ethnic from different places of the world. And I love to
how
experiment
fun.
cooking and used to cook a lot for my dad. We used to do Wednesdays with dad dinners and things like that.
Oh,
It's always special to be in the kitchen. And I love it. But Tampa is so full of so many wonderful things. And we're getting out and exploring now that we have time to do that. So photography, dancing, and music. Really.
how fun.
Yeah.
That's it sounds such a fun and lively thing to do. Really
Mhm.
life-giving, right? That's neat.
I love it. It brings you back to life. That's for sure.
Right, it does, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and after you've been a caregiver for a while, you have to start to think about what do I enjoy and what do I wanna spend my time on? So before we get into all of that, can you tell us about what you did as a nurse and what your responsibilities were and just how that lays the foundation for our conversation?
Sure. Yeah, this has been quite the journey. So I've been a nurse for over 30 years and I started in the Detroit area at the Detroit Medical Center. And I always knew that I was going to work in the operating room. And I had goals of doing open heart surgery and neurosurgery. And that was the goal. So that's what I did. So I got my degree and I went downtown and I chose Harper and Harper Hospital in the Detroit Medical Center because it was attached to Wayne State University. And so we had physicians from all over the world and we are so far advanced compared to community hospitals and things like that. So I just really fell in love with the idea of being downtown and doing large, laborious cases of vascular and open heart. And what an education. What an absolute education. So being organized, having lists of things to do was probably just the first part of laying the foundation for what I'm doing now, but it sure gave me the ability to be compassionate, empathetic, care for patients, or really look at my patient or my client is a whole, as a whole human being, not just, hey, here's your medication or hey, Bob, you have some diagnostic tests and exams. We have to get you ready for it. But really listen to people and learning what makes them tick. And you learn so much more about people and their illnesses when you just take a couple minutes. So for me, it was always about really learning a lot about my clients. And that has definitely laid a great foundation for what we're doing today and the care that we provide as well as our real estate.
So you did that for a long time, and then yeah, so then what prompted talk a little bit about what prompted your move to Tampa?
Yeah. So I did nursing for quite a while, and then I did real estate about maybe 5 years after I got out of pharmaceutical sales. So it was kind of a neat progression. Nursing to pharmaceutical sales to doing real estate. And then what prompted me to come here was the fact that I had a mom who had dementia and she was like stage 1, 2. So she was doing really well. And they left in the early 2000s after they turned 65 and retired. We spent many, many vacations here with them. And it just got to be toward that 15-year mark that we noticed that mom was really having some difficulty with her memory. It just got really bad. And my father just really needed help. So I went back and forth for a couple of years until it just got to the point where I knew I needed to be here. And that really prompted my move here. And my brother was already here, my younger brother. I did. I moved down and I moved in with my brother, and we would just go up and take care of our parents as much as we could until it got to the point where we had to all move in together.
So you had already given up your career at that point then, before you moved to Tampa.
I did.
Okay.
So at that point, rehabbing homes, I was a landlord. So I basically sold my rental homes. I literally was doing a rehab and flip literally out the door. My bags were packed, everything was ready to go. And I had to go finish that one last home and get that closed before I left. And I came down with, I didn't have any job lined up. I just knew that my goal was to just take care of my parents and my mom,
Wow.
go further notice and live off that money and figure out a game plan once I got here. So
Wow.
it's how I ended up here. And then my older brother followed. My older brother did follow with his son about 6 months later. And that was
Wow.
I came down in July of 17.
So you
Mm.
gave up your lifestyle. You gave up everything that was familiar to you to come down and to take care of your parents. That was a big move. Talk a little bit about what it was like to be a caregiver.
And I would do it 1,000 times over. I would give up that to come back down. Caregiving isn't just emotional, it's physical and it can be exhausting. But I think with my mom being the way she was, she needed light care at first. And as obviously as they progress, it becomes more. But taking my role back from being an independent business owner, a landlord, and someone who was out rehabbing and flipping homes, it was quite a change. And it does become isolating, just so that everyone's aware of that. And here I am in a new town. And, I hadn't really gone out and seen a huge amount of things, done just a little bit, but here I am doing nursing care and caretaking for my mom. And it was tough. I didn't really know that there was resources available because I just lived out my role of doing what I needed to do. And I had
Right.
another business going on that was an offshoot of something else. So I was really busy and I just really didn't consider that there was a lot of help available. So caretaking is hard. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's physical. And one of the things that people don't really do when they are caretaking is they don't do self care and self love and they don't practice that. And being the nurse that I am, I did the same thing. And I didn't take care of myself the way I should have. So caretaking is very tough. You do need respite care and help. You need neighbors to help, church members, hospices, whatever it is your family is journeying through. There are resources available for you. And I wish I had known. I really wish I had known that. I burned myself out. And I won't lie, it was very tough. Very tough.
Yeah. 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 And so you mentioned the resources. I remember
Mm,
you find yourself in this because both of my parents, I don't remember if I told you this or not, but I think I did. Both of my parents passed away when I was 20 and 31.
mm,
And we used hospice, and my siblings and I took turns taking care of helping them in that process.
mhm,
But you just get neck deep in something, and it's like we step into a room of let's call it the caregiver room, where before our life took place in these other rooms. Maybe we were a mom, or maybe we were business owners, or maybe
sure.
we were nurses or whatever. Like we were busy in our other rooms, and all of a sudden this caregiver door opens up, and we step into there, and we're like, wait a minute, this is unfamiliar. What do I do? What skills do I need in this room? What resources do I have? And if you're drowning, you may not realize that there are resources there. So that's one of the
Great.
things that I love about hospice. And I know we're going to talk about hospice in a bit. But
Yep.
when we utilized the hospice, I felt like, okay, this is a resource. I didn't call it that. I called it a lifeline because I
Sure.
felt like they know what they're talking about. This is not unfamiliar to them. And so I could
Mhm.
relax a little bit thinking they know the transition that we're going through. They've been here before. It's my first time, but not theirs. And so that's one of the reasons I'm really passionate about doing what I'm doing, similar to what you're doing in Florida, is because I know what it feels like to feel like you're
Mhm.
underwater and you
Mhm.
don't even know how to put one foot, like where is it safe to put the next foot to go forward, and you're exhausted and running out of your own strength. So you can get burnt out.
Mhm. You can, and my father was really stressed out as well. He was watching his wife decline, and you could see him, the emotional aspect of it, what a toll it was taking for him, taking that on. And really, there's so much more to it because it's not just you and it's not just the client or your parent. It is everyone else who's involved and in the home as well. So it's really tough. Caretaking
Right.
is tough. And I give my, hats off to anyone who does that at home and does it without help. But yeah, there's so much available. There's so many resources, especially here in Florida.
Yeah.
It'll be sharing that information with you guys because it's really good
Yeah.
to know why we've
Yeah.
decided to make this our mission,
Right.
like yourself.
Yes. So there was your mom, but it
Yeah,
wasn't just your mom. Tell us
correct.
about the rest of your family.
Yeah. So my mom passed away in December of 2020 and she passed at home. That's what we chose to do. And it was long and it was laborious. It was really long. And after that, crazy as it is, my dad and my brother, older brother who moved down here to help me, were both deemed terminal like about a week apart in the summer of 22. So our family was just recuperating from the loss of our mom, who was just the light of our lives. And having this happen and so closely together, I literally was blown away. I didn't know what to do. And I was taking them to all their meetings with their physicians. We were going to different hospices. So my brother and my dad, they were deemed terminal in the summer. And within a couple of months, they had to go into hospice and palliative care because they were just getting sicker and sicker. And so I relied on two different hospices. My brother was on the north end of Tampa. So we relied on Gulfside, and my father, we are on the south end of Tampa, and we relied on Life Path, which is part of Chapters. And they were amazing. They were everything that we could have ever asked for. The nurses were incredible. The intake nurse that came, they worked from a holistic dynamic as well. And they're looking at what is going on in this family, who lives in the home, what care is needed. And they set a beautiful plan of action in place for us. And it enabled me to go out and do what I needed to do, whether it was banking or just get out for a coffee and meet someone or meet one of my referral partners, which is something I did building my business as I was dealing with this. So yeah, there's incredible strength in saying that I need help. Incredible. And I didn't want to do that, but we did it. And the moment that I did ask for help from both Gulfside and Life Path, my life changed. And it really just became about them helping our family with whatever we needed. There was a lifeline and they were there 24/7. We always knew that there was going to be someone there if we needed something staff or emergent. It was difficult because my brother's 35 minutes north and yeah, it's separate hospitals. So we're going, and other people can relate to this. I'm not the only one who's been through this, but when you're taking a father to go do immunotherapy or chemotherapy at one hospital and you're there for 4 hours, and then you turn around and go to someone else's home to pick them up and take them for, abdominal surgery or whatnot. It's overwhelming. It's isolating. It's frustrating. You don't know what to do. So having them there to just help lay out a little plan of action for our family was everything. They definitely were our lifeline. And I cannot tell you how incredible the staff was. From everyone from the people who answer the phone, front desk, to the people who, do intake, to the people who come to your home. And that includes physical therapists, oxygen therapy, delivery of every product that you could need in your home. They have a game plan. And it was amazing. And it really, you can see the smile. It took a lot of that stress off of me, and I could share what I was going through with them.
Right.
Wonderful.
So were your brother and dad at home when all this was going on, or were they in a hospice facility?
Sure. So we chose to do, my father was on palliative care. He had mesothelioma. And so we decided to do his care here at home, and he wanted to do immunotherapy. And so we would take him to the hospital for that treatment and then bring him home. So it was outpatient therapy. And then my
Got it.
brother was on hospice, home hospice. So I would go up there, and his son was living with him. So he was caregiving and I was
Okay.
caregiving. And we made sure that he had everything he needed. We would always be there for the nurses that came to visit him. And he had end stage liver disease. So, there are certain things that you have to look for as a nurse, mentation, making sure that their mental acuity is there, that they're speaking and talking, or they can, if they're not, they're declining rapidly. So there's just various things that you have to do to care for people in their home, but I wouldn't change it. I really wouldn't have changed that for anything. I think he got better care at home. I think the nurses that came were wonderful. His son did an amazing job. I was there when I could be there. So I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing.
You relocated down here, but you are a businesswoman at heart. You mentioned referral partners and that you were doing things.
Yes,
So even though you pivoted and you put your life on hold per se to come down, you left everything that was familiar to you to come down
yes.
and do this for your parents.
Mhm.
Obviously, that was a priority. And then you didn't know about your brother, but you did that
Right.
as well. But the part of you that is an entrepreneur that didn't die. That was still there. And so you were looking for other things to do. So my point in bringing that up is that you're juggling a lot. That's what I think about when I think about why I'm doing here, what gets me up in the morning. I'm thinking about people like you in that situation where maybe they're a mom with young kids, or maybe they are a business owner trying to get the big case or whatever, trying to
Sure.
get a promotion or trying to stay married. A lot of marriages are suffering. And while this transition of being alive and helping someone through that transition to their end of life, your life is still going on. You're still trying to juggle all the things. And it's
Sure.
important things like to get to his therapy is important to make sure that he gets his care and to make sure you're paying attention
Mhm.
so that hypervigilance almost is
Waiting.
necessary. Yes.
Yes.
So that you don't drop the ball on something important. But that's not to say that these other things are not important also.
Sure.
And so there's just a lot of plates spinning for people at that time, especially the one who's trying to juggle it all.
There's a lot, but I will tell you the two things that were most important during all of that is your Google Calendar and my iPad. So I could take that with me and I could work from my dad's treatment room. And I would literally be doing Zoom calls with people who are in healthcare or people that became referral partners for me. So it was the one thing that kept me sane. Losing one family member over a period of time that is, in their terminal, and that there's no way back, and that, and that's always at the back of your mind. I just found that there were certain things that were missing. And so I took a book with me and a journal, and I just started journaling about what I was going through and the things that I thought that were not there or were missing, or maybe I just didn't know about it. And as my dad would be on the couch, maybe taking an hour nap, I would break out my iPad and I would join on Zoom calls with people I didn't even know. And I would just show up with the camera off and just kept showing up. And then too, the probate mastery courses, I would just show up there, have the camera off or have it on and not even talk. It was the thing that kept me sane. And I knew going through that, that was going to be instrumental in turning my life around and my business around. I had taken care of probate, people who were going through probate and needed to sell a home, but it was never to this level or this degree. But when you travel through that yourself, you start going, yeah, there's a lot that's really missing. And I have a lot to bring to the table as a nurse. And it's not just about house. It's about that person. So that's what I
Right.
really learned. And I took every hour, every minute that I had and just took that and took notes and made spreadsheets and met people for coffee and just said, how can I help your business? How can we do this? How can we make it happen? And now it's a year later and we have a whole referral business. So it's awesome. We found the silver lining. You really
Yeah.
did through all the grief and the pain. We found it. And I'm here to
Right.
share it.
So, what services did you utilize that you could maintain some of your own life? Because there's one thing to care for other people, but you don't have to lay your whole life down in order to help
Correct.
them in that
Correct.
transition.
And we
So,
think we do because, you're the daughter and that's the role, right? We're
well,
more.
and you're a professional nurse. Of course, you would do that.
So what
Yes.
the thing for me was calling for help. My mom was in her final stages and I had to let it go. And I said, I need some help here. So the helpers, the nurse assistants and nurses would come out, the doctors came and they would help me with washing my mom at that point, helping me with if she needed something to eat. They would maybe just help in the house. They would sit with my father and just have a conversation with us. They offered up music therapy, just anything to just help us have a little bit of normalcy for a couple of hours and just having somebody come in and talk to you and listen to you and acknowledge your existence because allowing someone to come in and help me wash my mom and change her pants or her gown or whatever we were doing for that day, it just takes so much off of you. And I'm so thankful. So I'm thankful that I did that. And I encourage people to allow that. Don't think that you have to be the one that does all that work yourself because you are going to crash and burn and you will.
Yeah. I think that there's something about, and you alluded to this, I think there's something about being in this struggle and having other people meet you there. They didn't judge you. They didn't judge your mom.
Right.
They met you there and you could be open. You were totally honest with them. This is where I am. This is my life. It's
Mhm.
not all of my life, but it's my life right now.
Yeah.
And to be seen and valued in that position is
Yeah.
so affirming and it adds honor and value to
Sure.
what you have chosen to do. So that's another reason why I think it's
Yeah.
really important for people to get the help because then you're allowing people to witness what you are experiencing. And I think that's such a good thing for your psyche and for your emotional
It
health.
is. It
Yeah.
is. When people are going through hospice and whatnot, they just think, hey, the nurses are all going to come in. They're going to take care of it. They're there for half an hour, 45 minutes, and then you've got 23 other hours in your day. So how do you create balance, work, life?
Right.
And, just didn't. I stopped working at that time. And my business was just taking off too, the probate nurse.
Right.
And I stopped and I would do that 100 times over. So yeah, I just encourage people to use those services, really take advantage of them. Have a pastor come out and speak with your family and get
Mhm.
clear on the wishes. And we did that with my dad because he wasn't very religious, but we had the pastor come out and speak with him and say, Al, what is it that you need? And once we got his answer, we knew how we could help him in his transition.
Right.
And we understood. So these services are put in place to help. And if you're not inside of it, you don't understand it. You really don't. Even best friends don't understand. They really don't. They don't get it.
Right.
Oh,
They
you're
don't have the
exhausted.
grid for it. Yeah.
They know you're
They don't
really
have a
tired.
grid for it. Mm-mm.
But you don't think about it. You just keep going and
Right.
you just don't. That's why that break is great. Even if you just go to the mall and you walk around for a minute or you walk to the
Yes.
beach, take a 10-minute walk,
It's
just get
not
out.
selfish. I've met so many caregivers that are like, I shouldn't be here. They feel guilty that they're not. They
Mhm.
absolutely need to do those things for themselves. It's so
You
important.
think to
I
do
think
being
they
a
can
nurse.
be a better caregiver when they take care of themselves. Um,
Absolutely. Thing I will say, my father was just he was 100% there in his mind and his body and failing him, and he wanted so much autonomy. He wanted to do his medications. He would lay them out. He created a graph, and he was just absolutely amazing. One of the best patients you could ever have, and the nurses were impressed with him too. So he was so instrumental in his own care until he, started his decline. So I just encourage people take that help. If someone wants to come and give you an hour, take that
and
hour or you will crash and you will burn.
right.
And I know
Right.
about that.
So were you guys prepared? And if this is too personal, only answer what you feel like, but
Sure.
were you guys prepared like legally? Were there wills
Mm,
in place so that probate could be avoided? Or did you
sure.
have, can you talk a little bit about that? Did you
Yeah.
have to have
So
a conversation about getting a will in place or directives?
we sure did. And so, my father's very instrumental in that. And he was so big on pre planning because he loved us enough not to put us through that in our time of sorrow. So my dad was absolutely amazing. So he did funeral pre planning for their cremation, and that was quite awesome. And then he did their estate planning, and we started doing more of that when I started understanding what was really truly going on. So yeah, he did everything that he could do to avoid probate. We did not have to go through probate. Our bank accounts were POD or payable upon death so that we could access his funds to pay bills. So he did all the right things. And my brother had not done a lot of things to prepare himself for his estate. He was in denial that he was ill right up to his last breath. So what we did, we found a lovely, lovely probate attorney in St. Pete who actually was coming up to her home the day he went to the emergency room, and she was coming to the house to sign his documents and get a ladybird deed, which I know you're familiar with. And bless her heart, she came to the ER and signed that paperwork with him.
Wow.
So that prevented his home from going through probate. And the rest of it, we pretty much, everything else went into that as well. She was able to save all of his 401k and everything from his work was pretty much good. The only thing that we missed was one account, and that has to go through probate. And that can be painful. So I encourage people to get your estate planning started. Get it
Right.
started, get it done, get that home into a land trust, whether you're buying a home or downsizing, whatever it is, get that home in there and then start your personal estate planning, your power of attorney, medical and financial. Get your will in place. That's
Yeah,
what
it
we're up.
is such a gift because when you're dealing
Yeah.
with all the things that a caregiver deals with, and then that season ends, but
Mhm.
wait a minute, it's not over yet because now you've got to go into this probate drama and
Ugh,
yeah, and
yes.
it can be. So you mentioned burnout. You used the word burnout a couple of times, I think, already, and we've talked about it before. And you were a poster child for burnout. I
Mhm.
understand. Like you jumped in full
I did.
all the whole
The
thing,
yeah,
even though you have a nursing background. And I know some people may be hearing this and say she's got a nursing background. And there were some things you said a while ago that even with your training, you still didn't take care of yourself completely. Can you talk about burnout and what that was like for you and how you found your way out of it?
yeah. And burnout for myself was taking everything on myself and going between the two hospices and going between two different hospital systems and being the person that was there for the lab draws, being the person that was there when my dad had his surgeries and whatnot, and same for my brother, and just not taking that time to eat correctly, grabbing something on the way out the door, eating a lot of carbs because you're stressed out, drinking alcohol to go to sleep and not taking care of yourself, just literally going days without a shower, trying to sleep and not sleeping, trying to get an hour during the day. So just really just not taking care of yourself in the way that you should, because you're no good to anybody if you're not healthy, right? And so by taking all that on, I was exhausted, but I kept going. And when my brother passed in January, excuse me, December of last year, and then my father passed 2 months later, and I couldn't stop because my dad was terminal at that time. So after my brother passed, I couldn't even breathe. I just remember showing up at the crematorium going, I can't believe this is happening. Here's my father who's terminal looking at his son, right? Nightmare, absolute nightmare. And my poor father, and I thought, man, this guy, I don't even know how he's doing this. But turning around and remaining strong for him and not breaking down and not having any kind of crying session, at least not in front of anybody, running to make sure that he's okay, that his therapy is going well, that he's walking, that he's eating, doing 3 meals a day and all the shopping, the cooking, cleaning, all the house and trying to keep all that in line so that he's well taken care of. You do crash and burn. And it was about 6 months after my brother passed that I really literally hit the wall. And when I say hit the wall, I didn't know what to do because everything had stopped. The estate planning stuff for my brother was done. All the banking stuff was done. And I'm in front of my computer going, what do I do? What the hell do I do? I didn't know what to do. And I was so overtaken by anxiety. I didn't know what to do. And it just got progressively worse. And I didn't realize it was depression. I had no idea. I thought I was just having anxiety from all the stress we've been through. And I really did hit the wall and I had to seek professional help. And that's another thing that I really want to make clear with people that it's okay to ask. And for me to ask for that kind of help was really hard. It was very hard. But when you're grieving and you're not able to grieve in the way that you really want to, and your life changes because you're going from this caregiver for years into all of a sudden, now what do I do? Do I go back to nursing? Do I do real estate? What do I do? And a lot of people go through that same feeling too, because when it stops, you're now like, what? I've got time. What do I do? And I hit the wall. I literally slid down the wall and I couldn't get out of bed. And I remember being in bed for days, just crying, numb, didn't know what to do. And I called my physician and I called one of my dear friends who's a nurse. And she said, I'm taking you to the hospital.
Wow.
I'm taking to the hospital. And so that's what we did. And I was able to speak with people who were able to care for me very quickly and get me on some good therapy, grief counseling, trauma counseling, and some medication. And I'm telling you, I'm back and I'm better than I ever was and focused and clear. And I highly recommend that for anyone who doesn't know what to do and they're feeling those pains and the anger and the resentment and everything. I mean, literally, you'll know when you hit the wall because you can't move. You're basically paralyzed, which is not uncommon after the loss of one person, but two and three was way too much for me and my psyche to handle. So crashing and burning is not good. I don't recommend it. I recommend getting the help that you need, getting grief counseling immediately. I waited 6 months and I don't know why I did that. So I highly recommend it. One thing I will say here about Life Path Hospice, they're amazing. They offer grief counseling for families in the Hillsborough County for up to 1 year after your family member passes away. And you don't have to be someone who's actually gone through Life Path. It is a community.
Oh, well.
And they do all kinds of grief counseling, whether it's in person or a group, or if you can't leave your home, if you're shut in, they can help you over a Zoom call. And in
That's
fact, I
great.
had grief counseling this morning.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
great.
It is amazing. Those services are there for you, and I encourage people to reach out for the help. There's nothing wrong with it. We're human beings, all of us, and it's okay. It's okay to be sad, and it's okay to say, "Hey, man, I'm not doing good right now, and I really could use some help." And me as a business owner and a nurse to ask was, I almost felt ashamed. No, man, you really need the help, and so I did it, and I'm so glad I did because I probably wouldn't be in a good place right now. I don't think my business would be flourishing. My friends probably wouldn't still be around because it doesn't affect just you. It affects everyone around you, including your work.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
So
depression can be like a black hole and it's just never
horrible.
satisfied. Yeah.
It is horrible, but
Yeah.
that help is there. And there's so many resources, especially for seniors, people who've lost their spouses, children who've lost their parent. You have to think about them. They're maybe 7 or 8 years old. And they just lost their dad. The dad was everything. So they've got all kinds of community programs, camps for children. And I encourage that.
Yes, for sure. One of the things that struck me in our conversation a couple of weeks ago was it's not fake positivity. It's you have been to hell and back and you have chosen to do things that bring you joy and bring you life. And
Yeah.
so there is such hope in your story that you can share with others. And so
Mhm.
while I am very sorry that you went through all that for so long and how traumatic it must have been to hold it together after the
But
loss of your brother and then to turn around and be there for your dad. That's just
it was
heart-wrenching.
it was gut wrenching and to see my father like that. And one of the things he said to me before he passed is, Mel, I really didn't want to do the immunotherapy, but I did it so that I wouldn't pass the same week of the same month as Craig.
Mm.
And other families go through this. And yeah, so I thank you so much for that. But the silver lining is that I have turned what was so horrific for myself and my brother, my existing brother Jason, is that we were able to turn this around and consult with people and talk to people about ways that they can handle from their grief to their home to clean out. I mean, everything, all those services are there. And having the strength within you, I don't know where it came from, except for the man above. If I didn't have what's going on, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
So I'm
So
thankful
can
for
we Yes.
that.
So that's a good transition there.
Mhm.
So how can people find out about those and how can they reach you, Melanie?
Yeah, sure. So I'm at info at theprobatenurse.com. That is my email. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, Pinterest, all the social. My website is a great way if you want to fill out a contact form. I'm at theprobatenurse.com. You can call me, you can email me, but I prefer to have an email, honestly, at this point, so I have a hard copy of anything that anyone needs. So info at
Sure.
theprobate.com or my website would be the best way.
Okay, so that wraps up the show today with Melanie Hands and the probate nurse. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you got a lot out of today's episode. Again, this is a part 2 episode. The first half, we're talking about Melanie and her experiences as a caregiver as she took care of her brother and her dad and her mom. And then the second half is we're talking about her as the probate nurse and how she's taken her experiences with her family and she's created this business now to help people through the transition of caregiving and into settling in a state. So I hope that you're able to join us for both episodes. Thank you so much for coming to the Probate Podcast. Come back next time and see what we've got to talk about then. Take care. That's all I have for now. New episodes of the Probate Podcast will come out on Thursdays. I also have a free public support group called Houston Probate Support on Facebook. You don't have to live in the greater Houston area to be a member, but I'd love to have you join me there. I'd love to have you join me on any of these platforms, including this podcast, and I'll share the links of where you can find me in the show notes below. I'm looking forward to us connecting. See you next time, and remember, you matter.